celebrating 17 years of possibility. Pilot Flying J and Halloran Hilton Hill present Anything is Possible. Today's guest, the Fox family.
Welcome to Anything is Possible. Great stories about great people whose lives prove possibility. I'd like for you to meet Stanley Fox, Ronnie Fox, and Becky Fox Grubb. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having us.
You come as a family.
Yes.
I reached out to you, Ronnie, and I said, hey, I want you to do the TV show. And when I came up to do the breakfast that you guys do every Thanksgiving, I guess it is, you said, I owe you one. I said, I'm calling in this show now. So when I called you, though, I said, I want you to come. And you said, we come as a package.
Right.
I want to bring my whole family. Fox Toyota. Why did you say that?
Because we're not, you know, a lot of families can't get along. We get along great. We do. When we make decisions, we make them together. We depend on each other. We rely on each other. And one of us does, we all do.
How did you get that way?
Probably came from my parents, I would say. You know, they just instilled in us that it's just not one, it's everybody. We're a team, and actually the whole dealership's a team. We all work together, and it's just like one big family.
Stanley, would you tell me about your parents? You being the eldest now.
I am. Our parents was Christian people that raised us the way they should be raised. They all made us go to school, and we was in church every time church was open. But what's interesting about us being family, before the Toyota store was built where it was at, we all lived together. We all had a little subdivision in that where it was.
We did.
And people just couldn't believe that we lived together and then got up every morning and worked together. But we did that, and we'd all meet at our mother's pool on Sunday afternoons, and so we've just always been family oriented.
Yes.
What did your father, I know he was in the car business, but tell me about the beginning of his life.
He worked in upholstery mills, and he run bus lines when they was developing Oak Ridge. When they had to take the buses down and open the gates at Oak Ridge, he run bus lines back and forth. And I guess he started out in the service station business in Lake City. It was in '44.
But that bus line is a neat thing. You know, when they were building Oak Ridge, people couldn't get to work in the early '40s. And he started bus lines from many counties, got as many as 103 buses. That he was running buses to hauling riders to Oak Ridge. And he did that out of his Shell service station. He ran a Shell service station, and our mother ran a restaurant next door. That's before the interstate, when it came down 25W.
Where did they get this entrepreneurial blood? Do you remember all of this?
Unfortunately, when I was 11, it's when our dad got killed in a car wreck. And I think that has really made us close too, as a family.
Talk about what happened in the car wreck. What happened?
Well, my brothers were in school at Castle Heights Military Academy in Lebanon, and he had gone home to bring them back for Thanksgiving. And he went down there to meet with some people about buying some property up at the interstate when he heard it was coming through, which is where the dealership is now. And a car pulled out in front of him, and he hit a telephone pole, and it killed him.
Mm-hmm.
How old were you when that happened?
I was 14, and we were going to military school because
Now, you weren't in the car with him, were you?
No.
Okay.
He was on his way to get us.
He had come to pick us up for Thanksgiving because Ronnie was a freshman at Castle Heights, and I was a senior. And he was in Nashville, actually, when he got killed, and he was going to pick us up on the way home the next morning.
Yeah.
So we didn't have instant communication back then as we have now.
Right.
So how did you find out, and where were you?
I was in my dormitory that morning when his brother came to get us. After the accident, they'd called home and called the police department, and they had run his brother down, and he came and told my mother, and then my brother got in the car and came to pick us up the next morning and told us.
Two brothers came.
Two brothers.
And I can still remember my Uncle Alvin beating on the door that morning. That Reveille had done rung, and we was all up, and he come to the door and told me, and he said, where's Ronnie? And it just happened that we was in the same dormitory. They called it the Towers, and it was about 8 or 9 stories because only 4 rooms on each floor. And I said, Ronnie's right across the hall.
Yeah.
I bet you that was a long ride home.
It was a long ride.
Sure was.
Not very many words said.
So then who was going to take his businesses and run those?
Well, our mother worked with him for all those years. She kept the books. And actually, she was the very first woman Toyota dealer in Tennessee. Because he just took Toyota on in '66. He got killed in '68, and she became the dealer. And her brothers, my dad's brothers, were there with her, and she let them buy in, and they all ran the business till we got out of school. She wasn't going to sell out. She was going to wait till we got out because she knew we wanted to be there.
Let's take a break. When we come back, more of this fascinating story. This is the Fox family. More in just a moment.
Possibility powered by Pilot Flying J, Covenant Health, Home Federal, and the Knoxville News Sentinel. Coming up.
We had this guy who wanted to trade us a mule. They're laughing. They know what it is already. He wanted to trade a mule in on a car.
When we left off last segment, you lost your dad.
Mm-hmm.
You're on your way back to Clinton. The world changes. Your mother becomes the first Toyota dealer, I guess, in America by virtue of what happened. How did you sort out what you were going to do in building this business?
Well, first we had to finish our school. We were still real young. So we finished school, and I knew exactly when I went to college, I was coming there when I got out of college, and I think Stanley did too. And we knew we was going to follow their footsteps, and we planned on that for years before we got there.
And speaking of college, one of the goals of our mother when our dad died was that all four of us graduated from college. And Becky was the last to graduate, and she rented caps and gowns for all of us. And we all four had our picture made in caps and gowns and give it to our mother.
She loved that picture.
Yeah.
So your mother, let's stop for a minute and just figure out how you got in the car business and the Toyota business.
In 1966, nobody ever heard of Toyota. And a man came through Knoxville trying to find somebody that would take a Toyota franchise. And he drove all over Knoxville, and he stopped at Bergen Dodge. Gene Bergen had a Dodge store on Clinton Highway. He says, I don't want it, but if you'll go to Clinton, Gene Fox has got a big used car lot. He sells a lot of used cars, but he don't have a new car franchise. He says, go talk to him. So the man came to Clinton, and he drove it around the block, and he says, you can be a dealer if you'll buy $1,000 worth of parts and a sign for $250. So for $1,250, you could be a dealer. And I know there's a lot of people that like to give our money back on that, but the problem was you had to go to New Orleans and get your cars. You had to, they didn't bring them to you. They didn't have commercial haulers. So he had his own car hauler where he'd been buying used cars. So they'd go to New Orleans and get a load and come back, and when he sold those, they'd go get another load.
What was the reaction in Clinton to foreign automobiles?
Gosh, it's been so long ago.
Yeah, it wasn't good for a while, because everybody still had Pearl Harbor on their mind back then, and it wasn't good. But when the first gas shortage hit in '72, they started selling really like hotcakes, because everybody needed a small car, and they found out how good they were, and they were buying them. And then right after that, they turned them over to commercial haulers because we couldn't go get them fast enough.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was the early '70s.
So I want to figure out, I got a couple of other questions I want to ask you, but I want to understand your personality. So let me start with you, Becky. Okay. In one word, I need you to describe your partners here who happen to be your brothers. In one word, Ronnie is?
Thoughtful.
In one word, Stanley is?
Generous.
All right, let me go to you, Ronnie. I want you to describe your two partners. In one word, Becky is?
Hard worker.
In one word, Stanley is?
Controlling. He flips. He carries the whip.
That's not really the truth.
It is.
Stanley, now it's your one word. In one word, Ronnie is?
Outgoing.
In one word, Becky is?
Becky is punctual. She's at work every day the same time, and she's really good at what she does.
Very good.
What do you guys do? Who does what at Fox Toyota? Let me start with you.
I do the accounting. I keep the books. I write their paychecks.
She does. She pays us.
Like your mom. Your mom understood. I want to see where his money's going. What do you do?
Well, me and Stanley kind of do the same job. We're just general managers and over all the salesmen and actually over everything there, shop, service, parts, and all.
What do you do best?
Sale.
Selling. Mm-hmm. I like selling and talking to customers and greeting.
What do you do best?
Observing, to be sure everybody else is doing what they should be doing.
How'd you get this property? See, the foresight of your father, he hears the interstates coming through there.
Yes.
He wants to get this property. that blows me away when people have that kind of foresight. How'd you get that? Because that's prime real estate.
He was a great visionary. He could see. The interstate ended in Lake City. It ended at Merchants Road back in the early 70s, in 72, I guess it was. He knew it had to come from somewhere to Lake City to Merchants Road. He went to Nashville and bought all the maps of where the highway was coming through and went back up there and bought up 4 or 5 farms right through there, right where the interstate's coming. And that was probably years before the interstate came through. And then the interstate came right through it, and he was sitting there with all that commercial property sitting there on the interstate.
Oh, we love your daddy.
That's a great story, I think.
And some of the farms he traded people cars for.
Yeah.
Really? Tell me about some of the crazy trades.
I can think of one right off. We had this guy who wanted to trade us a mule. They're laughing, they know what it is already. He wanted to trade a mule in on a car, and we thought a good mule would be worth, the car was an old junk car, it was worth about $250. And he said, I'll trade even my mule. And I thought, well, the mule, we talked about it, the mule's surely a good working mule's got to be worth $250.
We thought it was a big mule, just a mule.
So they deliver it. And he had an older fellow with him, and he called everybody honey. And he says, hey, honey, you better go home and put another board on that fence. And I said, they delivered it to my house. And I said, you mean that mule will get over my fence? And he said, no, I'm afraid it'll go under it. We went up there and looked at it, and he'd deliver us a donkey that we sold for $50.
We got to get a Carfax on that mule before we can do a deal.
That's right.
Here, this just jumped in my mind. You have children.
Yes.
Tell me about the next generation of foxes.
We've all got children there.
Tell me about your children.
Well, my oldest is a doctor. She went a different route.
Does she want in on the business, though?
No, I don't think so.
Have you shown her the books yet?
She don't need to see our books. She's doing well.
We like to see her books.
What about your kids?
I've got 3 children altogether, and 2 of them's in the business. One's working on the internet sales. The other one's helping Becky doing a lot of her advertising, social media. And the other one's a stay-at-home mom.
They want to be in the business, though?
Yes, they do.
And your plan is?
I hope they stay there and carry it to the 3rd generation.
What about yours?
I've got 2. One's a sales manager in the business, and then the other one helps Becky in the accounting department. But then we've all got, Ronnie has a son-in-law, and I have a stepson-in-law. They're both there too. But so if you count all of them, I guess we got a total of 8.
Wow.
Yeah, I need to go back about my other 2, because I said my first one, but my second one, he's a mechanic in the shop, and he loves it. And then I have a daughter that works there too, and she helps me in the
Oh, we're good,
Yeah,
dude.
we're good.
This is Fox through and through. What's the secret of having a great family like that, where people can get along and work together and be productive? See, for me, that's one of the greatest possibilities is strong families. Now, I didn't say perfect families.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't say perfect. I said strong. This is my rule in my family, by the way. I can't fix you, but I can love you, and I'm gonna love you with all I got, right? What's the science of this? I think this is beautiful. What's the secret sauce?
Blessings, total blessings.
Talk about that.
That's what I believe. Our dad and mom were both strong Christians, like Stanley said, and our dad taught a Sunday school class that I'm told now lots of people say they all loved and tried to get into his class.
I was in it.
Yeah, and that's my memories of my dad. Just when he, died so young, he was only 52, and of course I said I was 11. But my dad sitting with his Bible open every night in the chair, when he'd come home from work. That's what I remember the most about my dad, and that's a great memory to me.
So you think that added to the glue, the faith?
I do, and I think the Lord's been with us through all of this. Even when we all lived up there, my mom, when you went across the interstate, you got a different phone number. It was 457 on one side, it was 494 on the other, and she got our dad's birthday, 0228. We saved that number, and that is the phone number of our dealership now, our dad's birthday.
Really?
And it's also the address, 228 Fox Family Lane is our dad's birthday. We're blessed. We're truly blessed. And that's why we do like to help a lot in the community, because we need to pass those blessings along.
Let's take a break. When we come back, I'd like to talk to you two about the secret sauce. What makes for the possibility of a great family? This is Anything is Possible.
Coming up,
I can remember a long time ago when I was young, my dad come over to the S&W cafeteria on Gay Street, and there was a guy digging in the dumpster. And I can remember my dad pulled money out of his wallet and give it to him, trying to get something to eat.
Welcome back to Anything is Possible. We were laughing as you guys were in makeup because I said, I'm going to go downstairs and tell everybody, and you get a Toyota, and you get a Toyota. Stanley, you said, you must think you're Oprah. This ain't Oprah.
It's not Oprah.
Thank you for being here today. I've still been trying to decode this. I think the secret sauce is that you guys are able to work together as a family. And you were saying having a father and a mother who were deeply rooted in their faith, where you saw their faith day in and day out, it gave you an anchor, a strong roots. It gave you a foundation. That's part of the secret sauce of family is the people that lead the family have got to be into family. Your father was about family. Your mother was about family. So secret sauce, if you want a great family, act like it.
Right.
What about you? What's your takeaway, the secret sauce of family?
Well, you know, our family, growing up, we would meet, eat breakfast together every morning. Our mother would get up and cook breakfast. We all ate at the table every morning. Our dad came home every night at 5 o'clock. She had dinner ready. We all sat at the same table every night and ate dinner together. And then he would go back to work. He would stay till 7 or 8 o'clock at night, you know, but he would always come home and have dinner, and the family was always together. And I think my family's gotten away from that. I don't do that as much as we did, but I just think the core principles of families being together, going on vacation together, going to church together, we were always together. We had a strong family.
What about you, Stanley?
I agree with them. It's just the way we've been raised. And how we give back to the community. I can remember a long time ago when I was young, my dad come over to the S&W cafeteria on Gay Street, and there was a guy digging in the dumpster. And I can remember my dad pulled money out of his wallet and give it to him, trying to get something to eat. Or I can remember being in my dad's Sunday school class, and everybody in class was older than me, but they let me move up to be in his class. And for Christmas one year, he bought everybody in his class a Bible. So it's just the way we've been raised, and now we try to raise our children and the way we all get along.
Let's talk about running a great business today. You guys are great operators. You're in a competitive business. You've got a great brand, though. Mm-hmm. You're in a great location. You could have a great brand, great location. That doesn't mean you're going to do a great business. But you also are in a community where everybody knows each other.
Right.
Right? So however you do business, everybody's going to know one way or the other. What have you learned about taking care of people and doing good business, especially in the car business? Teach us how to do great business. What are the rules?
Honesty.
Mm-hmm.
Honesty. Taking care of the customer. We don't want them just once. We want them to come back over and over and over and send their kids and their family and tell everybody. Most of our business is repeat business. If somebody's told them or you know, our reputation. So that's the biggest thing we try to uphold is our reputation.
I would love to end by having each one of you tell me something that life has taught you that makes for a meaningful, great life, and that gives you the best possibility at living your best life. What has life taught you?
Life has taught me to love the Lord with all my heart, and everything else will fall into place.
Man, that's good, isn't it?
Yeah.
Ronnie, what has life taught you?
That's a tough question. I mean, I never had really sat and thought about that because I've been so blessed in many ways, you know, and everything's just has really been great for us. You know, our lives, we've had a great life. Our business, Stanley said it was tough, but we had the best year we ever had last year in the car business. We've got great customers that we just love seeing over and over and over again. But maybe, I guess, just taking care of the people that come through them doors, you know, you want to treat them right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stanley, what has life taught you?
I think the biggest thing life's taught me is just to be a God-fearing, honest individual.
Seems like Daddy would be really proud right now. Well, I tell you what, life has taught me by watching you guys. We're all a part of God's family. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. If you put God first, that seems to make everything right. if you put other people before yourself, you're going to be fine. And as a family, family is intentional. I was telling a friend of mine the other day, the well-lived life doesn't happen by accident. It happens by intention, right? You mentioned that your father ate dinner every night at the house and you had breakfast every day. Yes. I grew up in a similar type of family. And it wasn't until later in my life that I realized in order for there to be biscuits on the table, there have to be biscuits in the oven. In order for there to be biscuits in the oven, my mother had to get up earlier to put the biscuits in the oven. In order for her to get up earlier to put the biscuits in the oven, she had to go to bed with biscuits on her mind. I want my kids to be fed and at the table. So if you think about the intention they poured into making sure you got a good education, making sure you had great opportunity, making sure that your bellies were full, making sure that if you had a disagreement, we're gonna all sit down at the table and work it out. Somebody intended that. It wasn't an accident. And to see you guys carrying that forward, not only in your business, but in your family, that represents a whole new possibility. And I'm glad I got to sit at the table with you.
Hey, we're glad to be here.
Yes,
We
thank
really
you
are.
so much.
Thank you for being here today.
Thank you.
We'll see you next time on Anything is Possible.